Welcome to the channel. I'm sorry. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you guys are here. And the question for today that I've got for y'all is, have you thought through what financial independence means to you? It's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm pretty sure that we all do not have the same feeling and belief of what financial independence even really means to us. You might have a different, I'm pretty sure you've probably got a different understanding and belief of what financial independence means to you versus your spouse or a friend or neighbor, and certainly probably not the same as I've got. Now, let's talk about that. So, when we talk about financial independence, generally speaking, most people think, oh man, I can go to the store, I can buy whatever I want, I can go to the car dealership, and I can just plunk down a bunch of cash and buy a brand new car of my choice. I can go to a movie if I want to. I can go on a vacation or a trip or hop on a plane and fly anywhere in the world where I want to go. And certainly those things are attributes of being financially independent. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's what you all will totally believe in. And by that I mean, maybe your idea of financial independence is that, hey, you make $60,000, $75,000 a year, and you don't have to work really, really hard and spend a lot of time away from the family and away from the house and that sort of thing. And then someone else may think, excuse me, someone else may think, well, I'm not financially independent if I don't have $5 million in investments, or, a whole bunch of money stuck away in a checking account or something like that I can just tap whenever I want to. And certainly those are attributes of being financially independent. But there's a whole lot that goes into being considered financially independent. In general terms, shall we say. But not everyone shares the same beliefs of what that means. Now, certainly financial independence will give you all the things that I've just mentioned and more. The thing is, when you become financially independent, according to what your beliefs are, what do you do then? Well, if you became financially independent and you were working still, are you going to continue to work? If you became financially independent and it was through investments and things like that, do you even want to work? Maybe you want your investments just to continue to earn interest and dividends and capital gains and things like that, and that's fine. That's all great, but just understand what the other parts of that means. And just like, everybody says that the markets go up and up and up, but they also go down, down, down. And so if you're dependent upon just your capital gains and interest and dividends and things of that nature to grow your wealth, then there may come a time where the market tells you differently. And that's not to say that you won't continue to gain capital gains or dividends or interest, but understand that the valuation of your investments may go down. Now, that being said, I wouldn't tell anybody that you need to run away from the stock market or the mutual funds or whatever that you got your money invested in because the market's going to fall. Yes, the market is going to fall. There are ups and downs in the market, and just as much as they go up, they go down. The thing is, with like the stock market as an investment vehicle, it has a tendency to go up just as much, if not more so, than it goes down. Now, that being said, if you'd have told a bunch of folks in 1930 that, well, yeah, just don't worry about it, the market's going to come back, there would have been a whole lot of people that would have disagreed with you because they had lost pretty much everything when the stock market crashed in 1929 and the Great Depression ensued. Does that mean that you shouldn't invest in the stock market? Absolutely not. When it comes to financial independence, you have to determine yourself personally where your comfort level is and what type of investments that you want to utilize to get to being financially independent. And it may not even be an investment in the typical standpoint. It may not be the stock market. Maybe you're going to grow, and you have, or you are in the process of growing your wealth, your financial independence through being a business owner. And if you're really good at that, then by all means, just keep doing it as long as you want to do it. A lot of people are not business owners because they're not comfortable with that, or they don't understand how to run a business. If you are a business owner and you're watching this video, I'd love to hear your take on that. Your thoughts about gaining your financial independence through being a business owner. Pop some comments down in the box below and let's talk about that. If you are an employee and you're happy with that, and you have a financial plan in place or an investment plan in place, don't change boats in the middle of the stream just because you like a different boat. And by that I mean, if you have chosen to be an employee because of the perks that it gives you, and yeah, there are perks to being an employee. Pretty much I can tell you that as an employee, having been an employee myself for many, many years, I can tell you that I didn't always take home work every day. I didn't get called in, because one of my employees, being the business owner, I didn't get called in with one of my employees didn't show up and no one else was available to work a shift. Okay, I didn't have to worry about that. And if you're an employee now, maybe that's what really drives you to not want to be a business owner, is because you don't want the possibility of having to have your employees not show up for work, and then consequently you have to work harder and longer and more hours because someone else decides that they don't want to come to work, or maybe they got sick, or a child got sick and they couldn't come to work. Excuse me. So that's all fine and well. There are a number of instances, many instances actually, where employees became multimillionaires. Does it take a little longer than being a business owner? Yeah, pretty much it does. But it's not unheard of, and it doesn't mean that you can't become a multimillionaire if that's your goal and still be an employee. You can certainly do that. You have to look at the other types of investment vehicles that you can use. Again, stock market is generally what most people will choose, a good mutual fund or an ETF or something. And that's the way that they invest for their future, and that's the way they choose to become financially independent. So let's talk a little bit more about what happens afterwards, because that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily think about on the front side of becoming financially independent. They figure, well, I'm going to stop working and retire when I'm 40 years old or 45 years old or whatever. And that's great. If you've got the money set aside and the investments available to you, and you're earning enough interest or dividends, capital gains, things of that nature to pay your bills, live comfortably, and not be concerned about whether or not you're going to have someone come and take your car or take your house because you didn't make your payments, okay? Then good on you. I applaud you. That's wonderful. But consider too, if you look at the average lifespan of a male or a female, depending on your sexuality, I guess you could say. If you are a male and the typical lifespan of a male in your country, and let's use the United States, is 75 years old, and you're 40 and you are in the process of retiring, You're financially independent to your desire. Do you have the money set aside and invested and available to take you through those coming years of your retirement? So if the average age is 75, and I didn't look it up, so I don't know what it is today in the United States as my example. If it's say 75 and you're 40, do you have the money set aside available to you right now to sustain your retirement through the age of 75? If you do, again, that's wonderful. I applaud you, and you can do whatever you want to do, and you can do whatever you want to do anyway. It doesn't matter. But what I'm trying to get to and to hint at is, if you have 30, 40, 50, 60 years potentially in retirement mode, do you have the financial ability to pay for those years? So, things to consider, okay? And this all goes into planning and looking at what you consider to be financial independence for you. Healthcare costs go up. As we age, we need more health care, right? So if you've looked to see how much you're paying in health care today, if you're paying for your own health care, and if you're not, and your company or corporation is paying it for you, that's great, but go and look and see how much they're paying on your behalf. Because I will tell you that, generally speaking, corporations get a better deal when it comes to paying for their employees' health care than you as an individual will get if you go and get a health plan on your own, whether that's Medicare, or whether that's some type of a health supplement, or whether you're buying a financial plan through one of the big companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna or whatever. If you go and pay for that on your own as an individual for yourself, you are not likely to get as good of a price for that coverage as your employer, your corporate entity, will get for you, because they deal in quantity. Okay, they deal in lots and lots, and you're dealing with eaches, mainly one, just you. Okay, so they're going to get a better deal than you're going to get. The other thing is to consider, again, costs go up. Car prices go up, house prices go up, insurance, not just for medical, for your health care, but also insurance for that car, for your house. All those things continue to go up. They're not coming down. They're not going to come down in your lifetime. So you need to take those things into consideration. Does that mean you can't retire now? No, absolutely not. You can. But understand what that means for your future, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about where you retire. And I'm not saying you need to move to Florida or you need to move to Connecticut or whatever. What I'm saying is, there are places within your country, wherever that country is, as well as other countries outside of where you live, where the expenses to live are going to be, in some instances, vastly different. If you live in a country or in the United States, if you're a U.S. citizen and you live in a larger city, maybe you don't even need to own a car. So you don't have a car, you don't have gas and maintenance and upkeep, you don't have to pay insurance on a vehicle because you don't have one. Okay, you don't even have to have a driver's license. So, I mean, that right there, that's saving 30 or 50 bucks a year, because you don't even have to have a driver's license, okay? So, when you're looking at the cost of retirement and being financially independent, it's not just, I got $1 million in the bank and I quit. I'm telling my boss tomorrow, I'm turning in my 2-week notice and I'm done. That is not the end of the story. That's just the beginning. That's the beginning of the end, not the end of, well, I guess maybe it can be the end of the beginning. But to put it bluntly, you're just starting on that journey. You're closing chapter 1 of your life and you're moving on to chapter 2. Okay? So look at what financial independence is, what it means. Heck, go to ChatGPT and type in what is retirement and what does financial independence mean to me, and I mean, it'll come up with something. You can Google it and it'll come up with something. But it's not you necessarily, it's some generic something, somebody. It doesn't necessarily equate to what your ideas of financial independence or retirement means. And again, I mean, you can have your Social Security and or Medicare or whatever it is, and you can have those things take care of you if you're in the United States. If you choose to go elsewhere where it's cheaper to live, expenses are less, you want to move to Bali, you want to move to Puerto Rico, Mexico, wherever. Yeah, those expenses may be different. In many instances, they're probably going to be cheaper too, for that matter. Things in the U.S. are just really expensive. I'm told, I've not been to Canada, I'm told that in Canada things just are really expensive there as well, especially housing. So, you know, we talked a little bit previously about renting versus owning when you are in retirement. Take those things into consideration with what does financial independence mean to you, and come up with a plan. Does that mean you need to get out a stubby pencil or a sharpened pencil and a piece of paper? I would recommend that. I would recommend that you put these things in writing. Just, you don't have to come up with a super long formal plan. You can scribble notes on the back of a napkin from McDonald's if that's what you really want to put your plan on. There's nothing that says you can't. But to get to where you want to be, your end state is financially independent and retired. You need to put together some type of plan. It's okay to just shoot from the hip when it comes to balancing your checkbook every month if that's the way you want to do it. And that's okay. But when you're talking about long-term retirement, being financially independent, you have to have some type of a plan. It doesn't have to be nitnoid and down to the last copper penny that you may own, but you need to probably sit down and put together some type of a plan. Talk about it with your family members, with your spouse if you have one. If you got kids, include the kids. I mean, even if they're 10, 12 years old, you know, they might spark some type of comment out of the blue that makes you think, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. Well, everybody's got a take. Everybody's got an understanding or a belief what it means to them. And sometimes those thoughts or comments or suggestions might actually trigger something in you that says, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Probably need to make a note. Write a note. Take that for later, okay? So, you know, I'm not going to go into in depth in all of this because, again, it really comes down to what is financial independence and what does freedom mean to you? What does retirement look like for you? Is it just sitting around watching YouTube and cruising the internet all day, or is it reading books and visiting friends and attending social events at your church or your synagogue or whatever? Does it include trips and vacations to visit family and friends and maybe go see the Niagara Falls or whatever the case may be? Take a cruise. If you're going to retire and be financially independent at age 40 or whatever, unless you get hit by a bus on the way out the door tomorrow, you're going to have probably many, many years ahead of you where not only do you have to worry about paying for stuff, food, shelter, health care, things of that nature, but what are you going to do during that time? Most people don't think about that. Those that say, I'm just going to go golf every day, within 6 months, they're like going stir crazy. You might as well lock them up in prison because they're going to be of the same mental stance as someone that's been in prison for a long time and will probably be there for a long time. And if you don't have a plan for what you're going to do in retirement, well, you're kind of putting yourself in a prison because you don't have anything on your schedule. You get up in the morning and you do whatever, and you go to bed at night, and you get up tomorrow and you do the same exact thing, which is nothing, or which is basically nothing. I mean, you can't just dry up and sit on the couch and do nothing, right? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about what you want to do when you retire. And if you want to golf, knock yourself out. I'm not a golfer. But if you want to golf or play sports or, visit the senior citizen center in your town and, and volunteer your time at the dog shelter and things like that, those are things that if you have an interest, absolutely. People would love for you to come and do that and pet the dogs and give them a bath and things like that. Especially for those poor pooches and cats and things of that nature that they've been tossed aside by owners that didn't care. So anyway, yeah, make some comments in the box below. Let's talk about this. I mean, even if there's only one comment, I'm going to respond to it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. So until the next time, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I am Chris, your host. Would love to see you subscribe, like the video, and I hope to see you back again in the next one. So take care.